Right now, if you open up your phone and look up anything about real estate, you're being hit with two completely opposite messages. One side is yelling, the housing market is about to crash. Don't buy anything. The other side is screaming, if you don't buy now, you'll never be able to afford a home. And if you're sitting there thinking, those two things cannot both be true, you're right. What's actually happening in St. Charles County in 2026 is very different from the national noise and misunderstanding. That difference is where people lose money, lose confidence, and regret decisions later. Before you make any move, especially if you're a veteran, first responder, medical professional, or teacher, text the word BUY to 636-251-3614, and I'll send you a local buying guide that explains what actually matters in this market. No pressure, no hype. If this market feels confusing, that's not an accident. Confusion is profitable. Fear gets clicks, urgency gets engagement, extreme opinions travel faster than calm explanations. And most of the content you see online isn't designed to help you make a good decision. It's designed to keep you scrolling. That's why one person is predicting a crash, another person is promising easy equity, and neither one lives where you and I live. Here's the first thing you need to understand. There's no universal housing market. There's no single answer that applies to every county, every price point, every buyer, every situation. National headlines don't buy homes, local conditions do. And in 2026, the gap between national narrative and local reality is wider than it's been in years. The gap is where mistakes happen and where smart decisions are made. Let's talk about what's actually happening on the ground here in St. Charles County. Homes are still selling, but they're not selling instantly. Buyers are still active, but they are not panicking. Sellers are still confident, but they are no longer in complete control. That combination matters because for the first time in a while, buyers have time again. Time to think, time to inspect, time to negotiate, time to walk away if something doesn't make sense. Back in 2020 through early 2022, buyers felt like trying to jump onto a moving train. You didn't slow down to evaluate, you reacted. You didn't negotiate, you competed. You didn't ask questions, you hoped. That market rewarded speed. This market rewards clarity. And clarity changes everything. Here's something interesting. Even though buyers have more leverage now than they did a few years ago, many of them feel more stressed, not less. Why? Because the pressure shifted. Back then, the pressure was external. Move fast or lose. Now the pressure is internal. What if I mess this up? I hear it all the time. What if prices drop right after I buy? What if rates go down and I regret locking in? What if I overpay? What if I should have waited? These fears are real, but they're also incomplete because no one ever talks about the cost of waiting without a plan. Waiting can be smart. Waiting blindly is expensive. Let's clear something up. Prices do not move like stocks. They don't drop overnight across the entire country. They don't crash evenly. They don't respond to headlines the way that people think they do. What actually happens is more subtle. Overpriced homes sit, corrected price homes sell, motivated sellers negotiate quietly, unmotivated sellers chase the market down. That's not a crash, that's a correction. And corrections don't punish buyers who are prepared. They punish buyers who guess. In 2026, the question is not, will prices drop? The real question is, am I buying the right house at the right price for the right reason? Because those three things matter far more than timing the bottom. A lot of buyers are waiting for something dramatic, a headline, a signal, a moment where everyone agrees it's safe. That moment almost never comes. When prices drop noticeably, fear rises. When fear rises, buyers hesitate. When buyers hesitate, opportunity passes. That's how people miss markets, not by acting too early, but by waiting for certainty that never arrives. Smart buyers don't wait for perfect conditions. They wait for reasonable conditions and a clear plan. Let's talk about interest rates, because this is where most buyers freeze. Yes, rates are higher than they were a few years ago, but here's the mistake. People treat today's rates like it's permanent. It's not. You can refinance rate, but you can't refinance the price that you paid. In 2026, smart buyers are doing something different. They're renegotiating seller concessions. They're buying homes that appraise cleanly. They're avoiding emotional decisions. They're positioning themselves for flexibility later. That strategy didn't exist during the frenzy years. This market rewards buyers who understand structure, not buyers who wait for perfection. Let's get specific. 2026 is a great time to buy if you plan to stay put for a few years, you value negotiations over competition, you want time to inspect and think, you don't want bidding wars, you want clarity and not chaos. It's especially strong for veterans, first responders, medical professionals, and teachers, because there's programs designed to protect you that most people never explain clearly. This market rewards people who buy intentionally. Now here's the part that most realtors would skip over in their videos. You should probably wait to buy if you might move in under a year, your income situation is unstable, you're stretching just to get in, you're buying purely out of fear. Waiting is not failure. Buying without clarity is. The worst decision is not waiting. The worst decision is buying something you don't understand. The market in 2026 is not dangerous. Confusion is. Following national headlines instead of local data is dangerous. Taking advice from people who don't live here is also dangerous. Letting fear or urgency make the decision for you is dangerous. Clarity is local. Strategy is personal. And good decisions age well. If you're thinking about buying in St. Charles County or St. Louis County, and you want a calm, honest breakdown of what actually makes sense for you, not what gets clicks, that's conversation matters. Especially if you're a veteran, first responder, medical professional, or teacher. Text the word BUY to 636-251-3614, and I'll send you a local guide that explains how buyers are navigating this market without regret. No pressure, no hype, just clarity.